Hello everyone and welcome back to another session of Elden Ring PvP and another weapon showcase. Today we're taking a look at Wakizashi. This is a weapon that you get inside of the jail cave, and it is inside one of the locked cells. I'll have an image on screen showing the location of the cave. This weapon is kind of weird. It's in its weird little zone of mediocrity that is somewhat unique to it. It doesn't have much in the way of pros or cons, and it's kind of in a weird space, because in spite of the fact that there's nothing too terrible or great about it, it's also somewhat annoyingly complicated. So let's go ahead and start off with the basics of this weapon. This weapon requires 9 strength and 13 dexterity to wield, and it weighs 3 units. The skill of the weapon by default is Quick Step, and at plus 25 on both the Keen and Heavy upgrade path, your physical base damage will be 211. On the Heavy path, it will have a B scaling in Strength and no Dexterity scaling, and on the Keen path, it will have a D scaling in Strength and a B scaling in Dexterity. That all said, mispronunciations aside, I actually used this on the Quality upgrade path, and with that, I had a base damage of 184 and a B scaling in both Strength and Dex, and with that, my attack rating was right around 450. So, take from that what you will. Now, of course, it will have Bleed, and on all of the upgrade paths aside from the Blood or Occult path, it will have a base of 38 Bleed per hit. Technically on the Bleed path, or rather on the Occult path, it will have 38 as well, but the scaling will cause that to increase quite dramatically, so keep that in mind. A Bleed or Occult version of this weapon is actually quite dangerous, and in spite of the fact it would have lower attack rating, you will bleed your opponents quite easily, and that can more than make up for it, depending on your playstyle with the weapon. Now, with this weapon, there are some things that make it somewhat complicated and a little bit annoying. So the first thing with it is that it can be power stanced with katanas. However, it can only be power stanced with katanas if the katana is in your right hand. If your katana is in your left and this weapon is in your right, you do not get a power stance moveset, which is a bit unfortunate. Aside from that, you can power stance it with itself, as you're seeing me do throughout this video, but you cannot power stance it with any other daggers, which is a bit of a shame because that would have been an interesting way to blend the movesets together even further. When you one-hand this or when you two-hand this, you do have a standard dagger moveset, but it would be neat if you could alternate between the dagger power stance moveset and the katana power stance moveset that this has by switching your left-handed weapon between this and another dagger. That would have been a very neat thing to do, and I feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity. One other nice thing with this is that if you do put parry on it, and you do have it in your left hand, instead of using your right-handed weapon's Ash, you'll actually parry with your left-handed weapon instead. So, being able to take advantage of the fact that you can have a power stance moveset and still maintain the ability to parry with your left-handed weapon, that's actually quite nice. So that can catch people off guard. Overall though, there's really not too much else to say that makes this unique. The only other thing is that in comparison to a standard dual katana power stance setup, if you have this in your left hand instead, your L1 chain will actually use about 20% less stamina. So that's kind of nice if you want to go ahead and spam away with it, which I would actually recommend against because it is quite easily parried. That's one of the big detriments to that chain of attacks. It's quite easy to parry, because it unfortunately doesn't deal that much in the way of stamina damage. So, moving into the pros of the weapon, it is a dagger, so it is quite quick. When you are using it as just a single weapon, it's pretty reliable overall. It's got a good fast moveset. Your running R2 is a thrust, which is phenomenal. It's decent for chasing people down. I won't say it's good, because it's a short weapon, but it's decent. It can get the job done. So, it is what it is. That all said, that's really all I have for the pros of this weapon. There's not much going on with it, aside from the unique things I've mentioned earlier. I wouldn't say that any of those unique things are even specifically pros of the weapon. They're just unique. They're just kind of things that exist, so it is what it is. As far as the cons of the weapon are concerned, well, unfortunately, it is a bit short. It's a dagger, and it is one of the longer daggers as well. But even still, it's no Corvian Great Knife. It's no Black Flamestone dagger. This thing is not overly long and does suffer because of that. Aside from that, though, it is the Katana Power Stance moveset, and that's great, but like I said, it would be nice if you could use it Power Stanced with other daggers to have the Dagger Power Stance moveset, because the Dagger Power Stance moveset is significantly faster. So that's something that would have been really nice to have with this weapon. Because at the end of the day, yes, it saves you a bit on stamina cost, but stamina cost is barely a problem in this game. And at that point, you'd be better served by just using another katana in your left hand instead of using this. And to top it off, because this is short, even if you are in range to hit with your main hand katana, well, you're not necessarily going to be in range to hit with this. So yes, you do get access to that moveset, but unfortunately, you will probably end up missing a good portion of the time, which is a shame. So, overall, it is a fun weapon to use. It's definitely a bit of a challenge going ahead and power stancing these things and using it the way that I did, so I would honestly not necessarily recommend it. It may be much better if you did go with the bleed or occult options, but I chose quality because why not? Figured it's worth a shot. Go for the higher base damage and higher attack rating overall, and it does work, but it's probably not optimal, so keep that in mind. But anyway, that's all I've got. There are 2 fights left after this one, so I'm just going to let the video play out. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, found it helpful in one way or another. If you did enjoy the video, if you enjoy the content, then please do like, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. I would love to see this channel hit 50,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and it absolutely is possible, but I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys, so yeah, help me out. Do the things. Engage with the content, and talk in the comments, and like the video, and subscribe if you want to. Click on the bell. There's a bell. It's a thing. I always forget that it's a thing, but it does exist. So be better than me, and don't forget that it exists, and maybe click on the bell, because I don't know, you like the videos, maybe, possibly, kind of. Anyway, thank you all again for stopping by. I'll see you all next time.